I'm back up here behind Secord Dam. You can see it over my shoulder here in the background. Before we get this video started, I kind of wanted to give a little bit of the details as to where Secord Dam is at. It's been a lot of new subscribers lately. Secord Dam is the northernmost dam. This is located on the Tittabawassee River. Just south from here is the Smallwood Dam, located on Smallwood Lake. And then south of there, even further, used to be Wixom Lake. Edenville and Tobacco River Dam are located on Wixom Lake. And then even further south is Sanford Dam, located on what used to be Sanford Lake. So right now I am filming at Secord Dam, as I already said, and I will be going to film at the Smallwood Dam right after here. So there's been a lot of people that have been asking for update videos as to what's happening up here at Secord. I do want to give a huge thanks to my patrons Rachel and Greg though. Thank you for the support. Everyone's support just allows me to keep doing what I'm doing, documenting this for historical purposes so that people can look years from now and understand what happened here. Without you, this would not be possible, and for people sending me letters through the mail. Thank you, Ted. And if anyone wants to send me anything, I will pop my P.O. box up on the screen right now. I'll go ahead, we'll turn the camera around now, and we'll take a close look at Secord Dam. There's been a lot of people that have been wanting updates, like I said. And you know, this is a little bit further for me to get up to, probably about a 45-minute to hour drive to get up to this dam. Edenville, Tobacco River, and Sanford dams are a lot closer. If you want a live camera on this dam though, I do have permission to install a live camera on the Secord Township Fire Department's pole, which is over that direction. Pole is 100 foot in the air. I can put a camera, a pan tilt zoom camera up on that. We'll be able to see the entire area, both up here on Secord Lake, the embankment, the entire dam, as well as the surrounding area from behind me. 100 feet is taller than most trees, so that's going to be a pretty cool location. So the link for that is in the description down below, the GoFundMe page. Looking for donations for that so that I can go ahead and get that set up. And yeah, like I said, if you want to keep up with the day-to-day activities, that would be a 24/7 live camera feed that you can just tune into and actually see what is happening here at Secord Dam. There's not been a lot of work happening here lately. Most of the work is happening down at the Edenville and Tobacco River Dam. Huge work going on down there, and soon Sanford Dam will be being worked on. This is not unheard of though. If you look at the Four Lakes Task Force timeline, I'll actually show a few of those details at the end of this video and go over kind of the plan for rebuilding this dam and their timeline. They are following right in line with the timeline. They did the interim repairs, a lot easier to see with the drone, but this wall over here, during the winter time, they poured the new concrete right along that retaining wall. They also went ahead and raised these gates up higher. You can see how high those are right now. So that's going to help if there is a huge historic flood amount flow going through here. Again, those gates won't get in the way and that water will be able to pass. There is still a little bit more work to be done here though. I believe the retaining walls still need to be repoured, but right now a lot of the work happening here is all engineering and design studies. So, you know, you really can't see that. You might see people from time to time out here around the dam looking around, but it's nothing physical, and that's maybe why people won't actually see work progressing here, because it's all happening in the background, these designs. Right now, they're talking about redesigning these spillways. These might start to look like the spillways down there on the Tobacco River. May redo the internals, maybe make them that step spillways, as well as these gates are going to be not the Tainer Gates, they're looking at putting crest gates in here. So that's kind of the plan. Crest gates are able to pass flow a lot easier since the water flows over the top of those gates versus flowing under like in the Tainer Gates. You may see a lot of birds flying around right now, a lot of barn swallows. These were really hard to fly the drone around, but I was able to do. I was just very careful. That's probably the biggest threat to the drone right now, is flying around these barn swallows. They nest a lot of times up here underneath the powerhouse in that concrete, as well as Secord Dam Bridge right here, located on Secord Dam Road. They'll be nesting underneath there. Let's actually take a little bit of time. Let's cut to some drone video now and look at things from the air, and then we'll come back and catch up with me at the end of the video, and I'll give a few more details here on Secord Dam. Jumping into some of this drone video now, you can see a lot of these barn swallows flying around the drone. So right now at this time, I was just trying to gain a lot of altitude to hopefully deter them and get them to leave the drone so they would stop attacking it. Really do not want them to hit the drone, or else that would probably result in me losing it and it falling out of the air and crashing.
But usually getting around that is usually to just gain a little bit of height and they end up leaving. So we have Secord Dam right here in the middle of the screen, all that water flowing through it. Secord Lake just up towards the north of that. We can see the lake level here is drawn down along the shoreline. You can see where people's docks are, where boats are still sitting beached along the shore. That used to be what the water level used to be like. And then up here towards the north, we can see a little bit more of the Secord Lake Reservoir. So a lot of just grasses growing on the lake bed right now. There are a couple people that actually got their pontoons out there still on this lake, so that's pretty interesting. This is a shot up at 400 feet in altitude with the drone. I'm going to go ahead and keep dropping in altitude, and we'll come right up here towards the front of Secord Dam, take a little bit closer look at it. It was very calm out here the day that I was flying. You can see the reflection of the clouds in front of the dam here. So that was pretty cool. I ended up getting some really awesome photos. I will be sharing some of the photos over there on my Patreon account. So if you want to go ahead and check those out, the link for my Patreon account is in the description down below. Coming up here towards the front of Secord Dam, we can see they have a little bit of gravel, maybe some smaller riprap that they put in place over here on the west side of the dam. And they do still have some mats, some timber mats located in here. That is for the excavator to go ahead and be able to sit on. And now we'll come right over the top of Secord Dam, get that bird's eye view. So you can see all that water flowing through over the top of the dam and exiting the back of the spillways heading down towards the south, and the powerhouse located over here on the left hand side. So I'll pan and tilt the camera up a little bit. We'll take a look downriver. This is the Tittabawassee River. So like I said, we are looking towards the south now. This is Secord Dam Road Bridge. And now we are on the back side of the dam. So we're actually facing towards the north with the drone, directly behind Secord Dam. We'll drop in altitude a little bit and take a look at the back side of the dam a little bit more. So we can see that water is flowing over the spillways and then exiting over the sill right here on the bottom of the screen. Secord Dam is about the same exact size as Smallwood Dams is. So it has 2 spillways and 1 powerhouse, 1 turbine impeller in that powerhouse. So it should produce about the same amount of energy. Hopefully we'll be getting a tour in the inside of the Secord and Smallwood powerhouses a little bit later on in this year. Maybe when work slows down there at Edenville and the Tobacco River Dam. But I'm sure when work starts slowing down there, a lot more work will start happening at Sanford dams. There's going to be always a lot going on over these next couple months, a lot to document. So it's definitely keeping me busy. Have a lot of filming to do and a lot of editing. Most of the time is actually spent editing these videos. It doesn't take very long to get out there and actually just shoot some raw video and film. But when I come down to my computer and actually sit down to edit, that is where a lot of the time is spent. So we'll come up here back towards the back of Secord Dam again. We can see over on the left-hand side that retaining wall. Those PVC pipes coming out of that one portion of the wall is the interim repair that was made earlier this year. It was made during the winter time, but they went ahead and patched where the concrete was spalling off of that wall and there was rebar sticking out. So they poured a new kind of patch retaining wall on there. The entire retaining wall over here on the left-hand side still needs to be repoured though, and crest gates installed here at the Secord Dam. Over here on the right-hand side, we can see a little bit more of the powerhouse. We can see the chute where the impeller is housed, that turbine. This concrete directly beneath the powerhouse here looks like it's got a little bit of spalling happening. A little bit of that concrete that's actually flaking off from that rebar, that exposed rebar we can actually see is rusting a little bit more and causing that concrete to just kind of spall off, flake off a little bit more because that pressure is increasing inside of there.
The completion date for this dam to be completely rebuilt, repaired, is between 2022 and 2024. And like I said, this lines right up with the Four Lakes Task Force timeline that I will be covering right after here. Also, I know there has been a lot of people saying, why can't they just close these gates for a day, allow the lake to refill, maybe let the people upstream have a little bit of fun on the lake? Is one day really going to hurt this dam? That is not up to the Four Lakes Task Force. That's actually up to the other government entities. This dam cannot be closed and allow Wixom Lake to refill. Also, I've heard the argument that all the trees and vegetation growing up there on the lake, but I'll actually head over that way in a little while and show you guys on the other side of the embankment the trees and shrubs, vegetation growing on the lake bed. But people are saying, you know, close the gates, maybe leave them closed for a week, 2 weeks, enough for the lake to refill, cover that vegetation, kill it because it won't be able to get any light as well as it will be drowned out, then reopen those gates and let the water drain back down. But let me turn the camera around now and we'll take a little bit look downstream here. This gentleman over here is fishing, had a nice conversation with him, nice supporter. And then over here, there's actually a few holes, but they laid this rock, this river rock right here that is forcing the water into the center of the channel. And that is because they want to get a little bit of this water flowing to the middle so that it's not cutting into the sides of the embankment. I think he's got one on right now, that's pretty cool. But you could kind of see down here in the middle right now, this is eroding a little bit further. So they're forcing that to go towards the center of the river so that there's no erosioning happening along the banks anymore. This is a great idea because right here, you can actually see the bottom is clay. That clay won't erode hardly at all. Clay is our bedrock here in Michigan, so kind of see downriver a little bit more. Water level is very low right now. Nice and clear though, because we haven't had a whole lot of rain lately. A couple small fish there, some bass. Looks like some perch. There goes a perch over there. And when I was flying the drone, it was pretty cool. There was a lot of carp right here below the powerhouse. So that's the great view we have right here from the bottom of Secord Dam. Now let's head on over to the other side, check out what things look like on the other side of the embankment. I'm up here on top of the earthen embankment now. Secord Dam is right there, and this used to be Secord Lake. Not much of a lake left. Still a little bit of water though. I know there's been a couple people that were able to get pontoons out here though. This is what I mean. See the vegetation growing out here? A lot of cottonwood trees, a couple cattails, a few stumps mixed in there. But yeah, this is what people are saying, that if they were able to raise that water even just a couple feet, maybe 2 feet, that would flood out a lot of this vegetation. And right where I'm standing right here, from my last video, this is actually where that core driller was sitting. They were doing a core sample study, just kind of drilling down through the earthen embankment to see how things looked inside internally. But it is getting pretty hot out here today. Going to be about 80, 90 degrees, so still pretty warm here in Michigan, but temperatures are soon to be dropping. I did say that, you know, our water levels are actually pretty low right now. We haven't got rain for about a week, maybe a week and a half, but when we did, it was a big storm. It actually ended up knocking out all my live cameras in Edenville. Those are all now back online though. Nothing wrong with them, just knocked out power and internet to the area. But you can actually see how much the water levels dropped right here. You can see that existing water line. There's actually lily pads up there sitting on the dirt that used to be the Secord Lake bed. Pretty interesting to see how this water fluctuates up and down with the amount of water that we're seeing in here. It's pretty much a river now at this point, and you know, rivers do fluctuate quite a bit depending on the rainflow. Let's go ahead, get the drone back up in the air now, take a little bit closer look at that video, and then I'm going to be out of here, heading back down to Smallwood Dam to film a video down there.
Jumping back into some of this drone video now. We're going to get a great shot directly behind the powerhouse here, looking at some of those carp. But right here in the center of the screen now is that sill. So a lot of that water is flowing right over the top of that sill and going downriver. Now we'll pan over here towards the right-hand side. You can actually start to see a few of those carp swimming there. You know, if anyone is interested in bow fishing, this looks like a good spot to do it, although I don't think I would go up behind the powerhouse this close where they are actually sitting. But it looks like there's probably about 5 carp in this view right here. Couple big ones up near the top of the screen. So this is directly beneath the powerhouse. I'll actually tilt the camera up here in a little while and we'll take a little bit closer look. But over here on the right hand side retaining wall, you can see they actually have an outline there as to where a lot of that spalling is occurring. So beneath that line you can actually see a little bit more of that spalling. And now you can see the water actually exiting the chute. So that is coming through the powerhouse. It's not producing power right now, so that's just kind of passing through there a little bit. And a little bit more spalling up here on the concrete directly beneath the powerhouse as well. You can actually see a door right there at the bottom. That's how they would use it to actually get into that area directly beneath the turbine. So another great close-up shot directly behind the sill. You can actually see the spillways down here. And then we'll gain altitude a little bit further, and I'll come right up here beneath the backside of these spillways. You can actually see we're about lake level right now, or river level if you want to call it that. And again, hardly any wind out there, just not even a ripple. You can see all the reflection of Secord Lake and the houses in front of it. The drone is facing towards the north right now at this point, and I'm flying backwards towards the south. We'll actually go ahead and start panning the camera around and take a look downriver again. But can actually see a lot of that water trapped between the spillway and the sill, and then flowing over the sill down here. Riprap along the left hand side. I mentioned this in a couple other videos, but I actually do have an opportunity to go down to Bayport where the riprap is mined out of the quarry, and actually get a tour of that stone quarry where Fisher Contracting actually gets the riprap from. I think it would be pretty cool to actually be down there on a day that they were actually doing some blasting. So that, leave it down below saying you would be really interested in seeing a tour of that stone quarry. So another great shot here, seeing that water that's flowing through the channel that's been created by these large river rock boulders. So you can see how much in the center of that screen here that the sediment has kind of been washed away, and it's just down to clay. So that's keeping a lot of that erosion from the bank. I love getting this shot. I'm just downriver. We're going to come up here, fly underneath the Secord Dam bridge, and then we'll come right up behind the backside of Secord Dam. I always do this at Smallwood Dam as well. I get this shot, kind of gives a little bit better perspective of the river downstream, as well as what the area around Secord Dam looks like. We'll gain altitude a little bit here. We're probably about 50 feet in altitude from the actual river water. It was pretty humid the day that I was out here filming. You can actually see off on the horizon at the top of the drone where it starts getting a little bit white. That's just all the water vapor that is actually in the air at that time. Now we're in front of Secord Dam again, so the drone is facing towards the south, and behind the drone is towards the north. See a little bit of vegetation trapped on the buoys up here, and I'm guessing that's from people probably cutting the lake bed upstream from here. That is completely fine. Four Lakes Task Force actually said, yes, you can go out there and cut all the weeds and vegetation that is growing on the lake bed in front of your houses. And another great shot of the timber mats over there on the right-hand side, and a little bit of that gravel that they placed down there. A lot of barn swallows flying around down here on the very top of the water. Looks like they probably have a nest right up here underneath the Tainer Gates.
I'm on my way back to the truck right now, and I do want to mention that if you've watched this video this long so far, make sure you leave a like on it. Leave a comment down below. I read all the comments and will respond to them if you ask a question. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Just getting back to the truck right now. Also, if you ever see me out walking around, feel free to stop, give me a honk, say hi. Love to talk to my subscribers and interact with you.
The estimated cost to repair Secord Dam is at $25 million right now. There are 2,015 waterfront properties, and the estimated lake return date is between 2022 and 2024. The estimated annual capital assessment range is $505. That's per each property. Let's jump over to the next slide now. This is kind of showing the estimated date range of when these things are going to be running. So financing, engineering, bid letting, and construction, they're running all these processes in parallel to shorten the timeline as short as possible, but we can see construction here is in November 2022 to spring of 2024. So these date ranges are very wide, and they can fluctuate depending on the things above them. Financing doesn't come through, it's going to push everything else later, as well as delays in each one of these will push this end date as being later and later. Here is the actual plan for the Secord Dam, just kind of the large overview. We'll go into each one of these in a little bit more detail, but we have the Secord Dam over here, the embankment all along here, the emergency spillway that comes here and comes down here to the downstream portion. Now let's jump into these in a little bit more detail and kind of see what we have going on here. This channel here is going to be aligned with riprap. This is the current parking area, and they have some proposed sacrificial access culverts here that you're going to be driving over the emergency spillway to access that parking location. This is currently the existing switchyard. They're going to keep that even though they do not plan on using this dam for hydroelectric power, but you never know what's gonna come through in the future. They're also installing the sheet pile cutoff wall down into this embankment. So now we're looking at the dam up close. Sorry it's a little bit blurry. These are just the images that are provided by the Four Lakes Task Force. So hopefully these are a little bit better quality, a little bit closer to the construction, but we have the 2 bays here, the crest gates installed on here. This is the powerhouse, and they are going to install a stepwise concrete chute like they did on the Tobacco River Dam here. And then again, kind of just fill in riprap downstream. And then we're going to resurface the concrete apron down here and construct a new insill. So that's kind of looking at the dam. There's a little bit more detail that you may be able to make out, but really these are just the kind of crest gate details. We'll look at the crest gates at the end of the slides as well. Here's the emergency spillway up close. We have lots of riprap in front of the spillway. The channel is going to be lined with riprap as well. They're going to have a concrete sill, flashboards up here, and then they kind of have this kind of coffer dam here, and then over here there's a couple proposed culverts. But yeah, this whole embankment will have the sheet pile cutoff wall in it, as well as over here on this side. This is kind of looking at the embankment itself. So this is showing that sheet pile cutoff wall that is hopefully going to stop water that is on the north side of Secord Dam from seeping through the embankment and coming through. They're planning on catching that water when it's seeping through and depositing it downstream so that it's not just flowing through. Currently in this embankment, they have a lot of pipes that are just running through it, trying to drain that water out of the embankment downstream. Of course, there's no water coming through those pipes right now because there's hardly any water on the north side of Secord Dam. Here's those crest gates that I was talking about. So they're going to remove the Tainer Gates that are currently being used on these dams, and these are the new crest gates. They have the hydraulic kind of ram here that opens and closes these gates. This one is in the closed position. This one is in the open position. Walkways across the top. But these gates are being used over the Tainer Gates because during times of heavy flow, like in the springtime, when all that snow melt comes down, these gates can't really be overwhelmed. I guess they can be overwhelmed, but the Tainer Gates kind of open in this stepwise fashion. I'll go back to the slides and kind of describe this a little bit better, but those Tainer Gates open up here. They reach a maximum opening position, and then they actually will start blocking that water flow from going over here. These crest gates, if the water flow gets too high, it just goes over these gates a little bit higher, up until you kind of get this walkway bridge. But yeah, there's nothing really blocking the water from coming over the top of these gates. Let's jump back to the beginning. Here's those Tainer Gates. So see how high they are right now. This is in the even greater raised position since Fisher kind of rebolted on those new shackles and raised these out of the way a little bit more. But these gates used to be sitting at their maximum height down in here. That was actually blocking some of the water flow when the Edenville Dam embankment broke. Down there at Sanford Dam, it wasn't able to pass that heavy flow because these Tainer Gates were actually blocking the upper level position. If we had crest gates in here, that water would just flow over the top. So that's kind of the engineering aspect. I know a lot of people enjoyed me kind of going over the engineering diagrams and descriptions in the last video I did. So if you enjoyed this one as well, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Also make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next videos I will be posting, and leave your questions, comments, and suggestions below. As always, I just want to give a massive thanks to the people who support me on Patreon. Never underestimate the value of your contribution to keeping this channel going. Thank you.